Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a brand new episode 437. I counted this time on this take. Episode of HIAC Talk Radio. We have, as you can see, making his debut on the video podcast, right there where you're watching right now, the returning original co host of HIAC Talk Radio, Omega Squad, Chris Green.
Yay!
Hey, everybody. Yes.
I'm back.
Yes.
I got chorused back once again.
Well, yeah, the second of 4 times. Well, you still got 2, buddy.
I still got 2. Yeah, that's true.
I have to make up the 4th, I think. Well, end of year, whatever. That'll work. Sure.
It's like a punch card. I get a free Sunday after. I can't get so many.
Chris, Omega Squad, Chris Green will be back in Endgame. With me, as always, is the master of ceremonies, our wrestling historian, Craig Lagance. Craig, how you doing this week?
I'm fine, and I'm playing the role of Bond villain today as I playfully stroke my cat Amber, and we welcome you all to this video podcast of HIAC Talk Radio.
Yes,
Welcome.
Video, audio. I want to thank 2 people before we get started. Of course, I am the host, Dan Calachico, the above average comedian. I do want to thank 2 people. I want to thank Dustin. Dustin for 2 things. Our quick intros, which I didn't know was a problem at first, but apparently it runs smoother now. So yeah, we do that now. We do quick intros and everybody gets in and out. Our outros is where we banter the most now. And also, he was the one that said, "Hey, you should go on YouTube. If you go on YouTube, I'll listen to you anytime. I don't care what you talk about. I'll listen to your show." So we started doing audio versions only of the YouTube. Onto YouTube, excuse me, of the YouTube. And about two weeks in, our old friend Chris, Harry, Craig, you know Harry now because of that company we don't talk about.
Yep.
But Harry texts me. He goes, "Where's the video?" And I said, "Well, what video?" He goes, "The video. Why are you uploading audio?" I'm like, I don't have the time to do it, man. I just don't. He goes, "I'll do it for a small fee. I'll do it." And ever since then, we have had a video podcast. And every week it gets more popular. And every week, popular, people are listening, but we get more and more listens every week. And people are reacting. And that's the thing. We're getting interactions we've never gotten before. And with that being said, it's going to take us into our first subject. I have a YouTube member named, I had this up. I don't know how to pronounce it, so I'm going to say Voagus or Voeus. There's a J in there. I'm not sure it's silent or not. But he's been talking to me the last 2 days. And he said that he specifically started listening to our podcast because we talk about the NWA. He's the one podcast that he found that he likes listening to that doesn't just talk about AEW or WWE. And he said because of that we have a new fan. Now, with that being said, last week, Chris, before you came back, we mentioned that Billy Corgan had announced that the NWA in October, I think it was October or November. I believe it was October now. It's been 2 weeks. I can't remember now. But starting in October, the old Championship Wrestling, the old show you saw coming out of the TV studio where you had those groundbreaking interviews with the Four Horsemen and Dusty Rhodes and Ricky Steamboat, the dingy, smoky TV studio of the 60s, 70s, and 80s, that TV show was coming back. And our new friend had also given us additional information. And because he said, well, I don't know if it's he or she, so I'm going to say they. Because they said that they're listening to us because we talk about NWA, I could not skip over this. So I wanted to at least get one more reference into the NWA this week. He wanted to update me. They wanted to update me on a few things. And I mentioned last week that the TV show was coming back. It was going to be live. I'm incorrect. It's not going to be live. It's going to be taped like the old days. But it's going to be taped in the same way, Craig, where it's going to be match in the studio, interviews, sometimes some segments, but it's going to be done in the old style, obviously in HD on YouTube, at first on YouTube. And NWA is going to utilize that thing they have where it is still a national name, and they're going to have different wrestlers on. Like, they're obviously going to have the champions, but they're going to be able to pull from indie wrestling now, which is a great thing. They have this deal still they have going on with Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, which if either of you guys or any of your listeners has not seen that show, that's a well-produced show that does air locally on TV out west. That is also on YouTube. So they have a working deal with them still. It's very interesting because another piece of information I got from this new fan of our show, and again, thank you for listening, was the gate for Crockett Cup. And I was mentioning that the name is still popular. I don't have the numbers, but the numbers were, but the NWA name from when Billy bought it and to where it is now has grown again. And I actually have some numbers from our new friend. And he said that the 70th anniversary event netted them $1 million. $1 million, period.
Wow.
That's the 70th anniversary. The Crockett Cup was also very, very, very financially stable. It actually made more than more than the 70th anniversary. That's fantastic. And again, where we were talking about from, I think it was about 2 years now that Billy bought it and started running with, again, I have to mention him every time, David Langana, his producer, video director, and production editor, who does great videos. They started working together. Billy did this thing about 3 years ago where Billy went on this acoustic tour. He would just go to little towns and just do these pop-up shows. He wouldn't tell anybody. The fans would figure out because he would broadcast live on Periscope and on Twitter and on Facebook, and they'd figure out where he was, and he'd have this little acoustic show. But it was about 30 days, and every state, there was like a 5-10 minute video on YouTube that went up that showed the whole show, the whole day's events, and it was really well produced. And it was just him and David. That's the guy he brought into all those Pounds of Gold videos you see loaded on YouTube. That's David and the NWA now, but it's David. I'm really looking forward to this. Chris, this is the first question I'm going to throw to you to get you back in here. I know we talked about, even before you stopped doing the show regularly, it's something we talked about where there's the WWE Network alone. There's all these things to watch, but I thought about it today doing my job. My shoot job is the way I should put that. Is past us not having time. It's a good time for wrestling. We've gone from talking about the WWE Network, WWE this, WWE that, to by the end of the year, there's going to be WWE, AEW, NWA, just starting there, giving you other alternatives to watch wrestling. And that alone, that's a big deal.
Yeah, that really is a enormous thing that we've just kind of gotten to now. You've kind of seen this trend over the last, I don't know, call it 10 years with the streaming services coming online. Everybody's got a streaming service. So yeah, everybody's got an option of what they want to see. And there's two minds in that vein there. You got the people who, like me, are like, there's just too damn much wrestling to watch. Right. And I can't do it. I father, career, family. I can't do all those things. I can't watch all that much wrestling. But there's people who don't get what they want out of WWE and may not get what they want out of AEW, but they have alternatives such as NWA and I think promotions like CZW and things like that, where they can seek out what they want. So to your point, it is kind of a I don't want to call it a new golden age of wrestling, but it is a different type of really good situation where you can get stuff from Japan. You can get hardcore. You can get women's only. You can get whatever floats your wrestling boat. You can have access to that via the internet or via some streaming service. And I think as a fan, that is great. It's gonna have some casualties, though. I mean, people are gonna go all out with promotion and spend a bunch of money, and they're not gonna make it. But if you have a good business sense and you have the niche, you can be successful on a small scale. I mean, just YouTubers are successful on a much smaller scale. So the opportunities are there for these promotions to be successful. So,
Greg, what are you thinking? Because then I wanted to add something that Chris just mentioned. I forgot to even mention.
Yeah, this is a golden age of wrestling when you have so many well-run territories that are springing up, not just AEW, but Major League Wrestling, MLW, CZW still chugging right along, Ring of Honor also. The only thing that's missing, because this reminds me back of the old days, back when you had so many federations and back to the territory days. Only thing that's missing is wrestlers being able to wrestle in more than one organization. You know, I don't think that's going to happen. I think we're still light years away from that. Because we live in the era of guaranteed contracts and no compete clauses, and promoters aren't apt to have a handshake deal with any other organization or president or booker. So, but in the independent scene is still, something that you, as a young independent wrestler now, you have more opportunities than you ever had before to not only wrestle, but be seen on a nationwide scale, where if you weren't before, not just in a high school gymnasium or a quote unquote bingo hall. If you're an up and coming wrestler now, it's not just WWE or bust. You have so many other options. Whereas before it's like, well, maybe if I get to WWE, I can at least get to TNA. But now you've got plenty more.
It's so funny that we didn't even mention Impact.
Yeah, with good reason.
What Craig specifically referred to well-run promotions. So.
Oh, okay. Well, fair enough. Fair enough, man.
That's why.
But I do think Craig, brings up the good point about the contracts. You're not going to see guys crossing territories. There's too many, especially with corporate WWE and corporate AEW. And, you're going to have people locked up in the contracts, and you're just not going to have those territories. But the same access that wrestlers have via the internet and via streaming and TV, you didn't have that in the 80s. You didn't have that in the 70s. So it made sense for guys to travel. It wasn't going to hurt anybody if you did that. So you just can't. That's never going to happen in this day and age.
No, that's all gone now. That's out the window. Chris, you mentioned the old lady show. I forgot that's coming back. I think also around September, October was WoW. WoW season 2, the revival. That first season was great. Not the jokes, because there was comedy in the show, but all of the, I'll just say, degrading angles that original WoW was, that's all gone, man. I mean, they had Tessa Blanchard on there. They had a couple of the legit wrestlers that were on the original run 20 years ago. I'm trying to be 15, 10. I don't remember. Long time. It was a really entertaining show. Axis had a great lineup. It was Axis, because they would have WoW and then New Japan in a 3-hour block, because New Japan would be 2 hours and WoW was 1 hour. And the thing about WoW is it was 1 hour. Yeah. Another show I'm watching when I get a chance, sometimes I have to wait 2 weeks and then bang out 2 hours, is the MLW show. MLW Fusion gets uploaded on YouTube. The MLW, they're doing it a whole different way. They're airing it on the network that they're on, BN Sports. They're uploading it to their website, then uploading it to YouTube, but not on the same day. That is a good model, because I'm like, I'll just wait. And it's good to hear Shivani and Cornette again, back and kind of switching out. That's kind of nice. I like that. Yeah, Chris, what both of you guys said, you and I, the three of us, are never going to have enough time to watch all that. However, man, it's good to see. It's good. Hopefully, Chris, you're probably right as far as what happens with spending money and not seeing it come back. Unfortunately, that is the beast. That is professional wrestling business in general. You know that. But I kind of hope for a while there. I want to see the numbers kind of come back to the Monday Night Wars. They're probably never going to happen again. But I want to see it be talked about on the mainstream past the WWE again. That's what I would like. I'm not going to say, I don't hate the WWE. I know I'm supposed to, but kiss my ass. I don't hate the WWE. I hate certain things, but I'm not going to. That's what this is for. We can debate it here. Something that we didn't like that happened. We could talk about it here, like mature adults now on Twitter, going, I think Vince is an idiot. Yeah, that's why he's still in business, because he's an idiot.
That's why he's a billionaire.
Yeah, he's an idiot. I didn't say he wasn't conniving and dirty. I said he wasn't an idiot. There's two. That's not mutually exclusive. Yeah, I really you be damn sure I'm checking out that MWA show stat as soon as that comes out in a jiffy. Did you know that jiffy was an actual unit of time measurement?
No,
that's a real thing. That is an actual moment. Something about light speed, but it's legit. So basically, when you say "I'll be back in a jiffy," before you've said it, you've already lied. I'm a nerd.
I pretty much lie whenever I use that phrase. So
in a jiffy, yeah. I'll be back in 2 minutes. 20 minutes later, I'm on my third round of Fortnite, getting my ass kicked. Before we get into SummerSlam, there's one match I wanted to talk about in particular. Mia Yim and Shayna Baszler. Did I miss something? Was that a bad match? Go ahead, Chris.
I thought it was okay.
You thought it was okay? Okay, go ahead, Chris.
It wasn't a bad match, but I think there wasn't the level of investment in Mia Yim as you might have had with other women. As much as probably this show personally likes her, I don't think she's connected. I think the angle was a little bit of a hot shot. Just it felt like a transition. It felt like a time filler for Shayna. I don't think there was a lot of investment that coming in, because I don't think anybody really thought Mia was going to win. I think there was a certain contingency that certainly hoped she would win, but I just don't think it connected well. I think that's really what it was. It certainly wasn't the talent in the ring. It certainly wasn't a bad match. It just wasn't, but it wasn't a great match either. So.
Right.
Yeah, and that compared got a big build up and were crowd favorites and were written up to give her a great match. Not that Mia Yim didn't, but like Chris said, she wasn't the caliber of previous challengers, and this Shayna Baszler match, whereas before they've always had been like events, this one was just like, it just felt like another match, despite the great build-up and the video package that preceded it, which is always well done by NXT.
Yeah, okay. I was just wondering, because I saw a lot of people slamming on Mia Yim, and I was like, wait, what? was this match bad? Did I miss something? I don't know. I thought I was in the majority. I thought it was just a good scrap, but apparently it was not the greatest match. I will still contest that anybody who thinks Shayna Baszler is still bad at her job is out of their mind.
Oh, totally.
No.
She's a great heel.
Yeah.
She's just got she's got a style that is somewhat unique. I guess I would say.
She looks like a fighter.
She is a fighter. She's a legit fighter.
What a novel idea.
Former UFC fighter. Hey,
I think that doesn't jive with a lot of people anymore, Chris. I think that to some people, obviously the dwellers on Twitter, that means that you are a bad wrestler because you don't look like you're wrestling. Instead, it looks like you're trying to beat the crap out of somebody, which is kind of the point.
Yeah, well, I mean, so she wasn't a stupendously successful fighter, but she translated that to a wrestler, to actually being a really good wrestler, which compared to Ronda Rousey, who was a really good fighter, not as quite a good wrestler, but still good, actually.
How dare you?
She could be the Ronda Rousey of the NXT.
She could be the Brock Lesnar. I'll do you one better. She's going to be the Shayna Baszler.
She really kind of is already.
That's it. There's nobody like her. And quite frankly, even though Ronda Rousey is there, if she gets called up to the main roster, which at this point I kind of hope that she doesn't,
No.
she'll still be Shayna Baszler and not another Ronda Rousey.
Yeah.
Where we saw her in person at that NXT Takeover in Philly to now, even though she was fine, competent in the ring, it's a whole other world now. She is seasoned. She could go with anybody. This is a whole other ball game now with Shayna Baszler, and I'm happy that they're keeping the title on her. Excuse me. I've been watching Mia Yim for years. I've seen her in person before and after she was in Impact. We've interviewed her twice. She's been through some S. I wish her nothing but the best. So it's a little bit of it's personal. Like I really wanted her to win the belt, but on the other senses, I want NXT I just want them to go with it. Let's see what happens with Shayna Baszler. The main event. Oh my God. I didn't think that could get any better. And of course I'm wrong. It's I can't put that into words, Chris. You do it for me because I'm at a loss for it. I didn't think it was going to go that long, and I thought if it did go that long that I was going to get tired of it. And that match was fantastic.
Well, I mean, the talent in the ring was not a question that it was going to be a good match. I would argue it was a little bit too long.
Sure, okay.
I got checking out. I mean, and I don't necessarily think that the feud is clicked per se. It certainly didn't have the bite of the Ciampa the Ciampa fights and stuff like that, or the Andrade before that, or any of that stuff. You know, I've seen better matches out of Johnny Gargano, but it's not really Adam Cole. Again, this is one of those situations where you're nitpicking the really good stuff to find some criticism, because you're comparing it to previous matches. These are great. It was a great match. I don't want to downplay that, but
sure,
it did feel a little bit too long, and it didn't feel like the best match of these guys, between these guys, and it didn't feel like it felt like a resolution, but I don't know how I felt that relieved about the resolution, and I don't feel like I want more. I feel like I'm good at this point.
Oh,
does that make sense? If that makes sense, I'm not being particularly articulate with this particular match, but again, I love I did think it was a really good match. I do think those guys play well off each other. They tell great stories. Gargano is a super talent. I just don't know where he goes from here, because if he goes in the main roster, my fear is he just disappears. And I don't know what else you have for him to do in NXT at this point. So something's got to change. I don't know. But Adam Cole, I'm all on the Adam Cole train.
Listen, if you're not on the Adam Cole train at this point, I don't know what to tell you. And again, just like me and him, it's a guy, he's been on the show multiple times. That is a guy that I've been watching for years. And if the rest of y'all aren't on the Adam Cole train, you're never going to get on it, because he's one of the best. And he could shine past the writers' problems in WWE, and I'm still going to call them problems. He would shine beyond that. I don't know. Craig, what did you think about that main event?
I agree with everything that Chris said. It was very good. You have two of the best workers in the entire company. if not, the entire WWE roster. But I think uh, I think Gargano works best with Ciampa, and Adam Cole maybe works best with someone else,
Right.
with Dream or maybe with Riddle. Nothing
Oh.
against those two, but that's who I'd like to see more. 'Cause, obviously Adam Cole baby is the best thing to have on the roster now as far as drawing money, drawing crowds, getting heat, whatever, however they want to put him in. He is he's someone I don't want to see on the main roster only because I think NXT would be the best for him unless they bring up the entire Undisputed Era with him. Adam Cole baby going by himself, I don't think would as great as he is, I don't think that
Yeah.
could overcome the disadvantages he would have being at the mercy of the WWE writers. Hopefully, if he goes to Raw, then at least he would have Heyman in his corner. But Adam Cole baby right now is the franchise of NXT, and should hopefully will be there for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
I just want to.
Well, yeah, I guess the thing we've lamented on this show before, you guys have too, is like the recent history of factions on the main roster. I wouldn't want Undisputed Era up there, anywhere up there.
No.
I just want to point out as I'm recording this, I am trying to fix my own technical difficulties, so bear with me, folks. There's stuff going on. I'm not going to edit any of these comments out, but there's a whole bunch of stuff I'm going to, as I'm trying to host the show, and while you guys are talking, I am trying to fix Windows. Guys, the only thing I suggest for everybody is get Linux or Mac. Don't get Windows. Don't ever get Windows. Windows just hijacks everything and takes over, and every time that for a year that you think you have something going on, 'tis over. And but I think I fixed it now, so we're going to see how that goes. I still sound okay to you guys? Not too loud?
Yeah, you sound fine.
Fantastic.
Good.
Okay, fantastic. We're going to go with it. Gentlemen, Craig, is there anything else from NXT that you wanted to mention?
That the Street Profits are right now the best tag team in all of professional wrestling. They put on an absolute clinic.
Better than the Usos?
Speaking of NXT. Yes.
Oh.
My God. They are killing it, both on the mic, the backstage vignette on Raw, and their match. I mean, that was
Wow.
honestly, the Street Profits they're on my number one right now. I put them over the Revival.
Wow. Yes. That's amazing. That we've come a long way in 2 years because not that the Usos aren't great, but you said consistency for the last 2 years, Craig. The number one tag team for you were the Usos, and that has now changed. That's amazing.
Yeah, well, I haven't been grading it, but I put the Revival over the Usos at the beginning of the year, but right now the Street Profits. I mean, you just saw that match. Anyone who's seen, like you were talking about Adam Cole, anyone who saw that match, if you never even heard of these guys before, or if you only know them from the Raw vignettes, that match would have made you a fan because it made me a fan. I was just completely in awe of the Street Profits.
How does a guy that tall do that stuff?
That's what I'm talking about.
It's just ridiculous.
That is true.
Yeah.
It's just
I looked at that guy going, thanks. Thanks a lot. Yeah, I have to. I'll agree with you on the street. I'll agree with you and co-sign on the Street Profits thing. I don't have a good argument against that, even if I wanted to.
The Street Profits are what Crime Time was supposed to be.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I could see that.
And invoking the good name of Crime Time. I have not heard that name in a long time.
In a while.
Only reason I brought it up because I happened to watch the Kofi Kingston 24 after SummerSlam, which was really good. But they talked about Kofi's journey, and when Kofi won the title at WrestleMania, they went to other footage of other people that have been with Kofi for the last 11 years. They showed JTG at ringside with his cell phone recording the victory, and then they went to a bar somewhere. They didn't say where it was, but watching it and applauding and hugging each other were MVP and Shad Gaspar. So that was just a great, genuine moment. But these two guys were hugging each other over Kofi's win, and I thought that was just amazing. But that's what reminded. That's what and they put their names on the bottom of the on the screen, so they weren't trying to hide. But yeah, Shad Gaspar, JTG were celebrating Kofi's win, and that reminded me of Crime Time, which is just a ripoff of the PW tag team All Money is Legal. But
That's true.
I digest.
Now, we can't talk about that. We'll get sued. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, sorry.
That's okay. Thank you for taking care. Yes, I think I have all of my microphone issues taken care of. I don't know anymore. Thank you again, Windows. On to the main show, SummerSlam. Let's get this out of the way. Bray Wyatt, the Fiend. First of all, at the very basic level, let me just say that version of the theme song is my favorite I've heard. Number one. Number two, that what is the lantern is one of the creepy. It's one of the creepiest goddamn things I've ever seen. Number two. Number three.
Great visual.
Let me just pop number three for the fact that his finishing hold is a neck twist. And that was it. He twisted his neck and it was over. I love that. They just go, yeah, he's just, at this point, WWE's like, yeah, he killed a guy. It's over. He's dead.
He Steven Seagal'd it.
I really feel, as much as I've been virtually blowing Bray Wyatt for the last 3 years, that this is the best version of Bray Wyatt. There's been little tweaks here and there, but they completely wiped it, started over, keeping the history of Bray Wyatt, but started over with this weird, I guess before he was a cult leader, and now he's superseded a cult, and now he's influencing children, and he has a split personality. I guess that's what's going on, or he's possessed. That's the best thing. It's the best he's ever looked, as far as character. I just my only problem with this, Craig, I'll go to you first on this one. My only problem with this is if Bray Wyatt wasn't going to be the new Undertaker before, what's the end game? No pun intended as I look at end game on my desk. I hope they do something with this time. He's an unstoppable creature. Just go with it.
I agree, Dan. And when you said this is the greatest version of Bray Wyatt, this is the last version of Bray Wyatt. I completely believe this is his last go round as far as gimmick changes and renewed pushes. This is it. So far, it's hitting on all cylinders. They brought him along slow with the vignettes and the appearances, intermittently, with Mick Foley and Kurt Angle and Finn Balor. The fact that he wasn't on Raw or SmackDown was genius. I thought that was great because all anyone talked about on SummerSlam was The Fiend trending worldwide, but nowhere to be found Monday and Tuesday. Good. That's exactly how it should go. So if they keep on this train, having him pop up here and there, either attacking random people or even have him be behind who was doing the whatever to Roman Reigns. But to the point where Survivor Series, he's on a main event type match, then you've got Bray Wyatt, where he's supposed to be, which is where he should have always been, permanent upper card match, main event level matches, because he's a main event talent. He always has been.
Yep.
They gave him, his run with the world title was way too brief. I don't know why that Randy Orton had to be the one of all people and not someone like a Kevin Owens or a Cesaro or a Finn that could still with the company that can keep it, in a younger vein. But Bray Wyatt, the Fiend, is what's happening right now. They're doing a great job, but this is his last go around, and so far they're doing everything great. And the end game has got to be a title run, or at least, like you said, just a perennial Undertaker. If they make Braun Strowman their big show, then Bray Wyatt's got to be the company's Undertaker.
I agree. Like, so this is the best version of Bray Wyatt, the evolved version of Bray Wyatt, one of the most complex wrestling characters that I can ever think of. You know, just the layers of that Bray has gone through over the years, and how much the Fiend has just added to that character and that mystique. He's still Bray Wyatt, but he's pushed it away. Now he's this happy-go-lucky funhouse host, but when he comes out, it's just all that much worse, you know. And the it's just so creepy right now. Bray's always been creepy, but now it's just jacked up to 11 at this point. The new theme music, the fact that he comes out, the fact that he wore the mask the entire time.
Oh,
that he was wrestling.
Brilliant! That they finally just kept it on him. Just
kept it on him. He's got the weird contacts and just savage. You know, just a savage brawl in the ring. It wasn't all this technical stuff, and it wasn't even the cheesy creepy. It was just brutality in the ring. I really think that this is Bray's opportunity to be, as Craig said, the next Undertaker. It doesn't, you know, we have room for a fanciful character in wrestling. It doesn't, you know, doesn't have to be super over the top. I mean, yeah, I mean the Undertaker's the Undertaker. The Fiend is the Undertaker in a different vein. It is the Undertaker in a way that a modern take on the Undertaker, I guess I would say. It's kind of interesting to see that stuff, but I really think that if this doesn't lead to like a WrestleMania match with the Demon, I don't know what we're doing. I don't know what we're doing. That has to happen, right? Am I crazy?
That was what I was. Yeah, that was what I was going to close this with, Craig. You said it. No, we're not. Chris, you're not crazy. That is what has to. After that match happened the way it did, a blind man could have written in, well, then we have to get the Demon versus the Fiend return match, where obviously well, we're not going to discuss who goes over at the end of it, but that's the match you go for it. And in fact, if that's not the poster with the two of their faces, WrestleMania in Tampa Bay, just the Fiend and the Demon. That's it. Or an alternate poster. Obviously, you got a poster where whoever's the women's title main event and the men's championship main event. But that I want a one sheet. God damn it. Of the Fiend and the Demon. I hope that's where that goes. That has to be where it goes, man. Go ahead, Craig.
I was just gonna say, if they want to sell the Fiend, then don't sell any of his merchandise. Do the Chris Jericho tack. Don't sell any of his stuff, because I know the headlight would be a huge seller, because I want one myself. But if they don't sell the headlight, he'll be. I mean, he's already over like Rover, so just keep it like that.
Yes, at this point, our video producer is going to have to use a still shot from Chris talking earlier, because we've lost his video feed. So from now on, if Chris is talking, just pick a screenshot where he looks like he's talking. Chris, are you still with us?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay, cool. I just wanted to make sure we're all on the same page. Cool, very good.
See you guys fine, but the video is...
That's okay. That is not a problem. We will have Harry fix that in post. We're fixing it on the fly, folks. Thank you for sticking with us. So Goldberg killed Dolph Ziggler in the minute 50, and Brock Lesnar did the job to Seth Rollins. In general, because I don't want to harp on the card too much, I will say this. I'll go to Chris. Those two matches that I just mentioned and SummerSlam as a whole, I'm going to say that this was pretty much, as far as the main roster, the best show that they've done in 2019.
I would tend to agree. It was actually a very good show, mostly from start to finish. I would agree that the legend stuff was a bit much. I don't know. I didn't need Goldberg, slamming Ziggler 3 times.
Okay. Yeah, I liked it.
I mean, it was fine. It was. I mean, don't get me wrong. It was fine, but you already got 4.5 hours show or whatever it was. I don't need it. And you already had Edge come out in the pre-show, and you had Trish Stratus coming out later, which was a good match.
That was great. Yeah,
it was a good match. I just don't know that I needed it for whatever reason. It did feel a little like they were going back to the legend well for whatever reason with this show a little much. I mean, I expect it for WrestleMania. I don't necessarily expect it for SummerSlam so much.
Chris, let me just interject real quick. I have a feeling, unfortunately, because WrestleMania is so ramped up, that for the main four, Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, SummerSlam, Survivor Series, that they're going to go to the Legend Well a little more often. I just have this weird feeling.
You could be right. I don't know for sure. I mean, they've certainly gone to that well a lot.
I mean, I hope I'm wrong. I'm okay. I'd be okay with being wrong.
Yeah, no, but how long can we do that though? I mean,
not very long. That's the problem.
You're running out of legends to do that with, and the legends you have are getting older. I mean, I was surprised Edge did anything. So
that was cool. I did not expect
that. I was really surprised Edge did the spear, since that's what ended his career in the first place.
Yeah,
his wife was giving him crap. Beth was giving him crap backstage. Don't you ever do that again?
Yes, with good reason.
Yeah, totally.
Craig, Dolph Ziggler, Seth Rollins, and the show on the whole. How did you feel? Not on the whole.
As a whole, well, as in a whole, I hate Dolph doing jobs for people that whose best days are best behind him. Dolph is still a main event talent. Dolph should be an upper card performer. We know how great he can sell. He made the Goldberg spear look like he legitimately broke his chest and back at the same time.
So good, man.
Because only Dolph can do that, but we know Dolph can do that. I would have much rather seen that against someone that's on the current roster week in and week out, busting his ass, not someone coming out, 4 months removed from the worst match I've seen in 20 years. So
you're not lying.
Yeah, but Seth, I thought, was what makes the Seth Brock feud so good from WrestleMania to now is because they're doing such a good job, and I can credit Heyman with this, of making it look like, especially leading up to this match, that there's no way in hell Seth Rollins is. Forget about him winning the match. There's no way Seth Rollins is even going to survive being in the ring with Brock Lesnar. Right. They did such a great job with that, to the point where that when he did pull it out, it was the same reaction as at WrestleMania.
Legitimately shocking,
exactly.
Yeah.
And everyone bought into it, and that's great storytelling, and that's a credit to both Brock and to Seth, because like Dolph, Seth can sell like he's being killed, or that he's got nothing left. And it was a great win. It was a great match between two great people. Just like I said after WrestleMania, hopefully this is the last we'll see of Brock for the rest of this year, so someone else can get a main event run, or someone else can move up on the card, or someone else not named Brock can get a single push. Cesaro, cough.
Cesaro.
Yeah. Or even Buddy. Good.
I was Buddy Murphy.
Freddie Murphy that we saw on SmackDown.
Good stuff.
Totally.
Absolutely. I'll throw one in. Cedric Alexander and Drew had a great segment on Raw.
Yeah, well, Drew should be,
well,
up there.
Let's start there and work our way forward. Drew should have been the champion years ago. I
Yes.
mean, this latest, like 2 or 3 years ago, and the fact that he's Shane McMahon's lackey or whatever the hell he is now. Listen, I'm sure he's not complaining. He's getting paid. As long as the check doesn't bounce, I'll beat up anybody you want. But yeah, let's start with Drew McIntyre and then work our way forward. Cedric Alexander, I've been singing his praises for the last 3 years, seeing him in person at Nova Pro, talking to the guy, watching him and interacting with him as that cruiserweight tournament was happening to when the match aired, him getting it was just really fun to watch because that is a nice guy that deserves it. I mean, I don't have to put over Philadelphia's own son, Drew Gulak, any more than I already have, but let's say Drew Gulak should be the champion of everybody. Just saying. Did either one of you fine gentlemen have anything else to mention about this last weekend's activities? Oh, before we get to the wrestling historian, man, the return of the boss.
Sasha Baron Cohen did
Sasha
one of the
Baron Cohen.
I
said I said lady.
The
No,
boss.
man.
And just like you said with Dan, you said WrestleMania you want to see the Fiend versus the Demon. The Boss versus the Man should also be a single shot poster. Because that attack, first on Natty and then on Becky, absolutely amazing. I hate social media because they kind of gave it away that morning. Sasha, Sasha's gonna be back soon, imminent. I saw it that Monday morning, Dan. Or Monday afternoon.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I know it probably happened. I missed it. Thank God.
Yeah, but I hate social media for that because, enough people did know that she got a legitimate pop, and if I did know, I would have been screaming, seeing her back because we didn't think that she would be back, at least not they're running rampant that she was leaving, but the attack was amazing. Got real for a second with Becky. I'm obviously she didn't see that slap coming when she picked up her head and slapped her because Becky legitimately fought back with the kicks and the chairs. Yeah, the chair shots were random. They weren't a lot of them. Becky wasn't prepared to receive, which made it even better. But that's how you return. That's how you come back, folks. From a long absence, that's how you return.
That's it, man. That's literally the way you do it. Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, well, we talked about the best version of Bray Wyatt. I think this could be hopefully we're seeing a return of the best version of Sasha Banks.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Chris. My bad.
Well, go ahead, baby.
No, go finish what you're going to say. It was
the boss, right? When she was the boss, when she was healing it up, when she was making Izzy cry, when she was fighting Bayley in NXT, making snatching headbands off of kids. That is the version of the boss I need, and it's the version of the boss I need amped up and vicious. And I want to see her and the Man, but I want to see that match, but I don't want to see it now. I want to see that, Yep. I want a slow build like we've got with the Fiend. We've done it once. We can do it again. We want a slow burn, but I want it. It has to be good. It has to be a good story there. Keep them apart somehow. I'm not sure how at this point, but
something we didn't touch upon. We've talked about how good the Fiend was, but yeah, that was a good slow build, but just a little bit here and there. You saw the little creatures at backstage segments randomly throughout the show, and then you saw nothing, and then all of a sudden the Fiend was there attacking people. Then he was gone. You forgot about him. Then you'd see another happy, normal segment like, oh, everything's fine. Then he'd pop up again. It was a perfect build. Sasha Banks, you heard virtually next to nothing except for the big mouths on social media that has to have the scoop first. Ooh, I need a spoiler. I heard a source says. Anyway, get the hell out of here. But past that, no idea. She shows up, snatches off the wig, has the evil colors, and just beats the hell out of her. You couldn't have written that perfect any more perfect, Chris. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, I just think the boss needs to go on a terror spree now. She just needs to run through the entire women's division on her way to the man.
Yeah,
I don't think I think it'd be great if even like Becky should be wanting that match at this point, right? Definitely wants that match. I think Sasha should just not give it to her. I don't want to fight you. I don't need a match with you. I got matches with this person, this person, this person.
And here's the thing.
I don't need the
Chris. Here's the thing, Chris. You're absolutely right, and that'd be a perfect way of doing it, like just snubbing her. And here's the thing. Even though it is August, it ain't that long to WrestleMania to do that. To have it wait. Don't do it at Royal Rumble. Don't shoot your wad early, WWE. You want those WrestleMania numbers? There, you got two things ready for WrestleMania right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a number of ways to play it. It was a long time yet. I mean, it's not that far, but it's time enough to be thinking about it. And I mean, that's the biggest match I can think of right now that doesn't involve Charlotte. And let's face it, I don't really need another main event with Charlotte for a while.
Yeah, I understand.
Just me.
I understand. Yeah, no, I understand.
Again, not denigrating the talent of Charlotte, but that's it. Whatever number of times she's won the women's championship at this point,
Chris, I was going to ask you a random, general wrestling question, but I think I will wait until the end of the year. I'm going to reserve that question for now. I'm going to pull that back. It's up here. I've remembered it every single time, but I held it back each time, and I'm going to hold it back again. With that being said, gentlemen, I think it's time for Wrestling Historian. Chris, would you like to stay on with us or take a seat now?
I'll hang out. It's fine.
Well, then, in that case, Mr. Omega Squad's going to chill to hear your lovely segment. Craig, it is time to take over and look back at the past.
Join me, children. Gather around the Snapchat as the screen goes to black and white. And we go back to a time where belts were called belts and not titles, and when sports entertainment was professional wrestling. We're going to go back to August 8th, landmark date, August 8th, 2010. Not only was it my father's birthday, but on August 8th, 2010, the current Ring of Honor champion signed a development deal with the WWE. And the current Ring of Honor champion on August 8th, 2010 was one Tyler Black.
Went from doing moonsaults off of fat people to beating Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam in 2019.
Yep. 9 years ago, August 8th, the Ring of Honor champion, Tyler Black, who would later go on to be Seth Rollins.
And I was kidding. He was not just doing that. I was trying to be funny about it. Seth Rollins, Tyler Black's been great forever.
Yeah, but the first ever NXT champion, and he was kind of like that #1 draft pick that just keeps getting better and better. And here he is now, 9 years later, back on top. The only man to beat Brock Lesnar twice for World Heavyweight Championship. So Seth Rollins has that going for him, which is nice. August 9th, 1980, big day in wrestling. I begged my father to take me to this card for my 14th birthday, even though it was on a Monday and it was in Flushing, New York. But August 9th, 1980 was the Showdown at Shea. 36,295 people came out to the stadium where the Mets play to watch, among other things, Andre the Giant against Hulk Hogan. That was the first time that a lot of people, the mainstream audience, got to see Andre slam Hulk Hogan, even though I had seen it the month earlier, and anyone that saw them at Madison Square Garden had seen it. But that was the first time many had seen Andre be slammed by Hulk Hogan. Also, Bob Backlund, the current WWF Heavyweight Champion, teamed up with Pedro Morales to defeat the Samoans, Afa and Sika, for the WWF Tag Team Championship. So Bob Backlund held 2 belts. After the match, Bob Backlund gave up his half of the World Tag Team Championship because he was obviously world champion and couldn't defend it. And Pedro Morales said he wanted to focus on the Intercontinental Championship, so he gave up his version of the WWF Tag Team title. The Intercontinental Champion that night was Ken Patera, who wrestled to a disqualification against Tony Atlas. And the main event was the blow-off feud between Bruno Sammartino, the living legend, and the new living legend, Larry Zbyszko, where Bruno defeated Larry Zbyszko in a steel cage to end their feud. But that was in front of 36,295 folks in Flushing, New York. Showdown at Shea. Still one of the great cards in WWF history. That same day, August 9th, 1986, Ric Flair would defeat Dusty Rhodes in St. Louis, Missouri for his 4th NWA Heavyweight Championship. This was during the Great American Bash Tour of 1986. Dusty had won the belt 2 weeks prior, but Ric Flair would defeat Dusty Rhodes in the time-honored, that's often duplicated, but actually happened. The Four Horsemen had attacked Dusty Rhodes prior to the match, and the night before injured his knee. So when Ric Flair applied the figure 4 leg lock, Dusty Rhodes was pinned because he had passed out from the pain. So Dusty Rhodes never submitted, but he was pinned by Ric Flair while in the figure 4. And August 9th, 1986, Ric Flair would win his 4th, only his 4th of 16, but win his 4th NWA World Heavyweight Championship. On that same day, August 9th, 1997, another memorable match that took place right here in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. ECW Born to be Wired. The barbed wire match between Terry Funk and Sabu. Terry Funk versus Terry Brunk. It wasn't even the main event, but they had a barbed wire match, and I know there have been barbed wire matches before, but none have ever been like this. Both men, well, the ropes were wrapped in barbed wire, and both men were tangled, literally tangled in barbed wire. Sabu had his bicep ripped open by the barbed wire, stuck to his flesh. He pinned Terry Funk while they were both covered in barbed wire. They both literally had to be cut out of the barbed wire with clipper, whatever they call the big heavy duty wire cutters. I apologize. Now you can see me making the wire cutter on, now that we're on video now, you know what the hell I'm talking about. You know how stupid, yeah, do you know how stupid this looks on radio when you can't see? Now
No, we don't see how
what,
stupid it looks on radio.
but now you do see how stupid I look. But ECW Born to be Wired, August 9th, 1997 was one of the most brutal and matches in ECW history, and one of the most memorable, because anyone who's ever seen it, people that were there or people that have seen it on videotapes that were traded back then. That's what you did back then, folks. If you're a wrestling fan, you traded videotapes, and this is one of the most hotly ordered videotapes, and then promptly traded throughout the United States and Japan to since both men were big stars in Japan. The Funk Brunk, Terry Funk versus Sabu barbed wire match took place August 9th, 1997. On that same day, on that same year, August 9th, 1997, to the west we go to WCW Road Wild pay-per-view. One of the several, and you're going to see a theme here, Dan, in this edition of Wrestling Historian, because the WCW Road Wild pay-per-view took place during this week in wrestling history. This particular one in 1997, Hulk Hogan would defeat Lex Luger for the WCW Heavyweight Championship when the fake Sting came out and hit Luger with a bat and caused won the WCW World Heavyweight title for Hulk Hogan. That same day, August 9th, 2001, was the Brian Pillman Memorial Show, which took place in a long forgotten type of venue. It was at the Oak Hills High School in Ohio, 2,000 fans came out to a high school gymnasium back when major wrestling shows were held in high school gymnasiums. The Brian Pillman Memorial Show, the huge card that had WCW, Smoky Mountain, and WCW, Smoky Mountain, and WWE stars that were on the card. Nigel McGuinness was on the card. Terry Taylor defeated Bobby Eaton with Jim Cornette as his manager, with special guest referee Ricky Steamboat. Evan Courageous, with Missy Hyatt in his corner, defeated Chris Candido and Tammy Sitch. From the WCW, Perry Saturn and Dean Malenko defeated Justin Credible and Raven. So you had a WCW ECW match. And the main event where the Hardys defeated Edge and Christian and DDP and Chris Kanyon in a triple threat tag team match. And one of the early matches on the card, Dan, on August 9th, 2001, Randy Orton defeated someone named Prototype.
Gee, I wonder who
So
that
you had-
is.
Oh,
Yeah, so in one card in that
whatever
high school
became of that
gymnasium,
guy?
I don't know. He had a weird haircut.
I don't know, I
But in
could
that
never see him.
Well, no one else saw this match either unless you were there. But in that one card in Oak Hills High School, you had stars from the WWE, WCW, ECW, Smoky Mountain, and Ohio Valley Wrestling on that one shot. The Brian Pillman Memorial Show 2001. August 10th, great date, the greatest date in history. Fred Ottoman, who you also know as Tugboat and Shockmaster, turned 63. The Great Bad News Barrett turned 39 on August 10th. Happy birthday to him. And in August 10th, 1977, defeating Brian Blair in his pro wrestling debut was Terry Boulder.
Wow.
Wonder what happened to that guy.
I think he's some racist dude or something.
Yeah, but he made his debut August 10th, 1977 in Tampa, Florida. And an interesting story that also happened August 10th, 2007. Both these things happened on the same day. During a WWE wellness policy check, they found after a routine physical, MVP, who I mentioned earlier when I was talking about he appeared in Kofi Kingston's 24/7 documentary. MVP found out that he had Parkinson-White syndrome, which was a rare disease that inflicts the heart and could lead to a fatal heart attack if your heart goes over 100 beats per minute. And he had to have a quick operation even a quick operation to cure the Parkinson-White syndrome. It's 1 in 1,000 chance of you dying. So just that routine physical that was part of the newly instituted WWE wellness policy saved MVP's life. Had he wrestled anymore or at all after that, it could have been his last match ever. But that physical saved his life. On that same day, Dan, August 10th, 2007, the WWE released Tommaso Whitney. At the time, he was doing a Rick the Model Martel type character for OVW. He also did a little skit with The Undertaker where he was the
Oh!
lawyer.
It's the same guy, yeah.
Yes. But yeah, the last name changed a bit. He was also Tommaso Handspring or Tommaso something else. But August 10, 2007, he was released from the company. Tommaso Whitney was, but we now know him as Tommaso Ciampa, and we're waiting his return to the ring. But 12 years ago on Saturday, he was released from the company.
Wow.
Yeah,
My, how things come back around.
back around.
Yeah.
August 12th, 1972. This was a wild date in history because I remember reading about this in the After magazines in the Best of the Wrestler. These are all black and white photos. August 12th, 1972, in Cleveland Municipal Stadium, it was built the Super Bowl of Wrestling. This was the first Super Bowl of wrestling. Like I said, this took place outdoors in Cleveland Municipal Stadium. Now, this was the largest baseball stadium in the country at this point. The Cleveland Indians played there. It seats 110,000, but for this event, there was either 20,000 people upwards or 5,000 people. There was no reliable source on actually how many people were in the arena, but somewhere between 5 and 20,000 people were there to see the Super Bowl of wrestling as it was built. Wrestlers came to the ring on a chariot or a horse-drawn chariot, and there were 3 rings set up side by side. And in some cases, there was more than one match going on at the time.
What?
And there were 15 matches total. And this is all under the NWF, the National Wrestling Federation. And you had a women's tag team championship match. You had a women's heavyweight title match. Fabulous Moolah beat Vicky Williams. You had a midget tag team match. You had the NWF tag team titles, the Fargo brothers. Ernie Ladd fought Abdul the Butcher to a double disqualification. And the main event was the Battle of the Johnnies. The NWF heavyweight champion, Johnny Powers, defeated Johnny Valentine, Greg's father. But yeah, that was the first Super Bowl of wrestling that took place at Cleveland Municipal Stadium in front of anywhere between 5,000 and 20,000 fans.
Wow.
That same day, August 12th, 1977, both the NWA Heavyweight Championship and the WWF Championship were on the line on the same card when the WWF Heavyweight Champion Superstar Billy Graham defeated Handsome Jimmy Valiant, and the NWA Heavyweight Champion Harley Race, the late great now Harley Race, went to a 1-hour draw with Dory Funk Jr. Both men scored 1 fall, and the time limit ran out. On that same card, Dick Slater pinned Jack Briscoe for the Missouri Heavyweight Championship. And last week, you recall when I talked about when I did our tribute to Harley Race in last week's edition of the Wrestling Historian, I pointed out how important the Missouri State Heavyweight Championship was. When Dick Slater defeated Jack Briscoe, a former NWA champion, it was assumed by many that Dick Slater would be next in line for a World Heavyweight Championship push, because the Missouri State Championship, which was the company, the NWA was headquarters were in St. Louis, and that's where the only place where you could see a WWF champion and an NWA champion on the same card, and in some cases an AWA champion. But if you held the Missouri Heavyweight Championship, you were set up for bigger things. At the time, so many former Missouri State champions would go on to be world champions, like Jack Briscoe, like Harley Race, like Bob Backlund, and later on Ric Flair, Kerry Von Erich. But Dick Slater, on this date that the NWA and the WWF champions were on the same card, many thought Dick Slater would be next in line for a World Heavyweight title push. Dick Slater, obviously known to many as Mr. Unpredictable, would not have been a good world champion, but he held many a regional title, and winning the Missouri State Championship was to solidify him as definitely a main event talent. And finally on that date, August 12th, 1988, in Oakland, California, making his WWF debut, defeating Barry Horowitz, was the Blue Angel, which was Owen Hart under a mask.
I was wondering if your big reveal was going to be the same thing. Yeah.
Yes, he would later change his name to the Blue Blazer, but Owen Hart's first match in the WWF was August 12th, 1988, under a mask as the Blue Angel, defeating the great Barry Horowitz. August 13th, 1962. This is a date we're going to return to later on during the year in another Wrestling Historian segment. But on this date, gentlemen, August 13th, 1962, in Newark, New Jersey, during a title defense, the NWA Heavyweight Champion Buddy Rogers, during a match with Bobo Brazil, claimed he had a groin injury and couldn't continue. The match was stopped and Bobo was announced the winner, but he refused to accept the victory. Cut to September 6, 1962, when after a doctor found out that there was nothing wrong with Buddy Rogers, awarded the NWA Heavyweight Championship to Bobo Brazil.
Wow.
And it wasn't until October 30th in Toledo, Ohio, when Buddy Rogers would defeat Bobo Brazil and win back the title. But that title change was never recognized by the NWA. So for all intents and purposes, on August 13th, 1962, while later on September 6th, Bobo Brazil would be the NWA Heavyweight Champion, and he would be the first black heavyweight champion.
I had no idea that's the way that went down. You just I learned something new today.
Yeah, and last week, Dan, and on the last week's edition of Wrestling Historian, I pointed out Ron Simmons' victory over Big Van Vader, which took place August 3rd. That would make Ron Simmons the first World African American heavyweight champion. But 1962, Bobo Brazil was recognized by the NWA as the NWA heavyweight champion, despite the fact the title change that took place later on that year wasn't recognized by the NWA. But there it was. August 13th, 1979. I knew exactly where I was because it was my birthday present. At the Philadelphia Spectrum, Bob Backlund would defeat Johnny Valiant. What makes this match so special was the month before, Bob Backlund teamed up with Ivan Putski and Tony Gurria in a three-man tag team match against the Valiant brothers, Jimmy, Johnny, and Jerry Valiant, who was Guy the Stomper Mitchell, but he dyed his hair blonde and was as Gentleman Jerry Valiant. Well, during this match, Johnny Valiant, the Valiant brothers won because Bob Backlund was counted out because Johnny Valiant had done something, I think ran Bob's head into a turnbuckle. And so there was this singles match. The Valiant brothers, Jerry and Johnny, were the WWF Tag Team Champions. And this match was Bob Backlund versus Johnny Valiant. But in the weeks leading up to it, on the WWF TV Saturday morning shows, Bob Backlund, who was one of the worst interviews of all time, would look into the camera and say, "Johnny Valiant, I'm coming for you. What you did to me, I can't say right now on television, but when I get you, Johnny Valiant, I'm going to make you pay." This was a precursor to later on to the Mr. Backlund, the great maniacal interviews he did. But this was Bob Backlund in 1979 trying to be serious. It's like, okay, well, Bob Backlund apparently mad at Johnny Valiant, but, so what? The match, Johnny Valiant's in the ring, got his silver lame jacket on, strutting around the crowd. And Bob Backlund, in a dead sprint, ran to the ring like the Road Warriors of 1985, just ran, sprinted out. The fans didn't even know what happened because he ran so fast from the dressing room into the ring and just started beating the living crap out of Johnny Valiant all over the ring. And it went on for 20 minutes. of him beating Johnny Valiant, putting him in these stretching holds. Johnny Valiant never got off his ring jacket before he was pinned by Bob Backlund. It was a 20-minute squash. Johnny Valiant got no offense at all. And when he finally won with the Atomic Spine Buster, and the fans were chanting and cheering for Bob Backlund, he put up on the big jumbotron of the Spectrum, "Happy 29th birthday to Bob Backlund." And the fans went even crazier. So I was going crazy because, Dad, it's my birthday too, even though my birthday was August 10th, but I didn't know that I shared the same birthday week as Bob Backlund. So I wanted to share that with you just because I already know where I was and it was a big deal.
Hey, Craig.
So
Happy birthday.
hey, thank you, Dan. Glad somebody cares.
I messaged you privately and publicly. You're my boy, Boo.
You're my boy, Blue. I know, Dan. I was just saying that for our fans. I know you care.
I'm sorry. We're being recorded. We've already been had.
Okay, we'll keep this to ourselves.
Okay.
August 13th, 1985. You might remember this, and longtime fans might remember this. Toronto Maple Leaf Gardens in the WWF. Andre the Giant was going up against John Studd, with Bobby Heenan in John Studd's corner, and he was going to attempt to cut John Studd's hair because Andre had his hair cut a month earlier, thanks to John Studd and Ken Patera. Well, Andre was about to cut John Studd's hair, but when making his debut in Canada was King Kong Bundy. And he came in and he splashed Andre 4 times. And that was the interview afterwards that Andre did with the rib popped out. It looked like his rib had popped out, and he was rubbing it. And that's when he declared that when he is going to be back and that Captain Lou Albano was going to be in his corner. But that was the match that kind of made King Kong Bundy into a main event superstar. He had already been a main event star in World Class and in Georgia, but him splashing Andre, attacking Andre and splashing him 4 times and popping out that rib made King Kong Bundy a main event player who would later go on to main event WrestleMania 2 against Hulk Hogan. But that's where it began. And finally, August 13th, 1996, SummerSlam 96. We had some great matches. One of them memorable, the Jerry Lawler versus Jake Roberts match. I forgot those two even had a match, but this was during the Jake Roberts Redemption Tour. The match took place in Baltimore, it took place in Cleveland. And Jerry Lawler came to the ring wearing a Baltimore Ravens jersey because the Cleveland had just left to go to Baltimore, even though obviously anyone who knows Jerry Lawler is the biggest Cleveland Browns, Cleveland Indians fan ever. And he came to the ring wearing a Baltimore Ravens jersey. He beat Jake Roberts after he sang some very disparaging things to him before the match, but he pinned Jake Roberts after hitting him in the throat with a bottle of Jim Beam. Because this was Jake Roberts, the redemption Jake Roberts, who came clean, and this was really the beginning of the Attitude Era because we got to see wrestlers being themselves and wrestlers admitting their past, being more of them, and Jake Roberts coming clean about his past alcohol abuse. That same card, we got to see the Mankind versus Undertaker Boiler Room Brawl. And the infamous main event, Shawn Michaels versus Vader, with Jim Cornette in Vader's corner, and Michaels, of course, jumping off the top rope and telling Vader to move, and them having a verbal miscommunication during the match. This is very memorable in Jim Cornette's podcast, talking about the Vader Michaels feud and the problems he had with both men, the problems Cornette had with Michaels, the problems Michaels had with Vader, the problem Vader had with both of them. But yeah, that was SummerSlam 96. And that, my friends, is what's called a wrestling historian.
If I wasn't afraid of copyright infringement on the YouTube video, I'd have Harry put some old timey music on your outro of the Wrestling Historian, dun, 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 like lots of banjos and really muted brass. Cab Calloway knockoff.
I'd rather him do the Civil War music, my dearest Linda, as we look back on the years of wrestling.
My dear, it's Terrence Boulder. I had no idea you were going to be such a racist prick in 40 years. Please give my regards to the Union.
As Tommaso would, my dearest Beverly, I've been let go by the company. They no longer want Tommaso Whitney. Maybe one day I can return, my love. As Tommaso Ciampa.
I can't wait until he comes back, man. That is not that NXT is a bad. First of all, I'm really tired of fake woke on social media. Now all of a sudden, well, the NXT show is not that good anyway. What? What are you talking about? Maybe Wayne Gretzky wasn't the best hockey player. Excuse me? Have you seen those numbers?
Seen the record book? Yes.
Yeah, I'll tell you this.
Yeah. That no one else has come close to, and no one else ever will come close to setting.
It started when Tool released their new album Details and the song like, I really never liked Tool. I don't think they were that good anyway. Oh, go away. Go away. Fake woke. And then there's fake woke about being fake woke, I
was fake Hogan. Woke before it was cool.
Yeah, I was fake woke when I was born. I hated Hulk Hogan when I was a kid. So I beat all of you to it. Chris?
I'm older than you, Dan, so I was way aboard that.
Okay, so yeah, Craig is the original, and then I followed suit.
Go ahead,
better. I was going to say, you guys better watch out. Bryce Harper's hitting home runs. Go ahead, Chris. Chris, I wanted to say thank you. Now that, even though I can't see you now and I am sad, thank you very much for coming on. You're contractually obligated 4 to 5 times a year. The 5th one is negotiable, Mr. Brock Lesnar, but thank you for coming. I appreciate you. My question was going to be, what would it take you to get back to watching wrestling weekly? But we don't have enough time to answer that because I have a feeling it would be a loaded answer.
Yeah, probably. But it is always a pleasure to come on with you guys. The big shows are the big shows. I still watch the big shows. So.
Oh yeah. Once a fan, always a fan. Nobody is ever truly gone.
Just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in.
Dude, every time you say that, you've said that before, and I've quoted it 100 times too. People crap on Godfather 3, and I get it. But that scene after everybody gets murdered at the casino when he's angry and he's yelling about Fredo and he's having the diabetic coma-ish, the shock, whatever he has. That's a great. It's Pacino, man. It's still Pacino being great.
Pacino got nominated for that. So
yeah, so good. Coppola's daughter, not so much.
Well, if Winona Ryder hadn't bowed out, it would have been even better with her in it.
It's funny. I said something about that once. I'm like, why was she even in the movie? And Kelly looked at me and said, oh, yeah, I'm 17-year-old, and my dad says you get to make out with Andy Garcia. I'm going to say no. I was like, okay. Fair point.
I'd rather direct, yeah.
Yeah, I'd rather direct. I don't want to make out with Andy Garcia. Durr. I was like, all right, fine. Then I was like, you think he's good looking? What the hell? No, just kidding. OmegaSquad, even though I just gave it away and I promised I wouldn't do that, where can people follow you?
You can follow me on Twitter at OmegaSquad. Shockingly.
I only mentioned it 6 times. It's hard when it's your nickname. We've used your nickname as much as your actual name because you've had the nickname as long as I've had DanLaw83. I've had that the day I signed on the internet when Daddy let me. And you've had OmegaSquad for years, so it's hard to, just people still call me Dan Law. The people that I met me when we first broke into this and started doing wrestling shows and the New Moon stuff, I still get called Dan Law. I'm not Calachico or any variation. It's Dan Law. So I'm sorry. I didn't mean to take your wind away. I'll shut up.
No, Dan, it's fine. I answered to both.
Thank you.
And several other unpolite names too, probably, but
well,
mostly used by my wife.
You and me both. You should
Yeah.
see my Twitter feed,
Yeah.
or the other Twitter feed. Wait, what? Craig, where can people follow you, sir?
They can follow me, Dan, and only me, and not Amber, on Facebook, Instagram, and on Twitter at Craig Lagons, CraigLiGeons.
And I want to thank everybody for hanging on since we had Omega. I wanted to go a little bit longer since there's a lot to do, so I thank everybody for hanging on there. I also would like to apologize if there's any audio issues. I tried to take care of them the best I could. I was fixing it on the fly as we were recording, and I think I've weeded out all the issues. And until the next Windows update, we should be back at 100%. So thank you, you gentlemen, and everybody listening for sticking with and dealing with and being patient. Follow me on Twitter at DanLaw83. The HIAC Talk Radio Network and podcast is on all social media platforms, HIAC Talk Radio. Our home away from home while we're getting the bugs cooked out of the website is the VOC Nation Network, VOC Nation Radio on Blog Talk Radio and iTunes. Please follow them, thebradyhicks.com. Also listen to us on demand, or just follow us at HIAC Talk Radio and me at DanLaw83. For Craig Lagons and Omega Squad, I am the above average comedian Dan Colachico. See you next week. Have a good night.